Welcome back to the Real Estate 401k show. I'm your host, Mike Weinstein, alongside Justin Frederick and Ryan Gerdes in the new digs. And as time progresses, you'll see more and more stuff on the wall, but this is our new studio, and we're pretty excited about it. You're going to want to text the letters. How about the letters? MBA to 623AZ Recon. That's MBA to 623AZ Recon. All right, Justin, this article and what we're going to talk about, and this is great news for 2025. All of this is according to the MBA. What is the MBA?
Mortgage Bankers Association. So
That sounds like a fun group to go out and have cocktails with.
Oh, I'm sure it is. But they control a lot of the mortgage regulation, and they do make a lot of predictions, as you see here. And they were spot on for basically 2024 of what we've seen so far. But yeah, they're predicting a 28.5% increase in mortgage business in 2025.
And they're projecting $2.3 trillion in new mortgages next year.
In new mortgages next year.
That's a lot of money, man.
I know, but I was so worried about the election, so I decided not to.
There's so many of those.
So that being said, thank you to everybody who said that, because you carved a massive path for us and our investors to get in early.
I mean,
we've had some fantastic
deals
this past year, and you know, I get it. No one can predict the future, and I'm not even saying that this is a prophecy here, but math is math, and numbers don't lie. Mm-hmm. And when we've seen trends that every single sine curve and every single event in the past couple hundred years they've documented trends and waves in real estate, it's not rocket science to see that, you know, in certain times and certain events and certain time frames, what the numbers end up doing, and we're due.
Yeah.
So
we're overdue.
We're overdue. So it's
well. So according to the MBA, they are identifying 2025 to be a purchase market or a buyer's market, whatever term you want to use. They are expecting rates to drop to 5.9%.
As an average,
which is tremendous. I am just saying, we have been talking about it going on maybe 18 months now, and I'm going to keep saying it. Maybe somebody new will hear the words, and then I know some of you trolls out there that listen to our show. You got to do your stupid comments and so forth. We love them. We love them,
yeah.
But they're trolling, and I like being trolled. I'm not going to lie, I have some fun, but
no such thing as bad publicity, right?
When it comes down to equity position, when it comes down to getting a better price on a home, the lower the interest rate for me, the worse. Yes, you will have a lower interest rate. You might have a lower payment, but those properties are going to go up in value. As interest rates drop, property values will go up. And we've seen it. We've seen it over the last 4 years. And I'm telling you, to the point that you alluded to, Ryan, is if you're wanting a good deal on a home, if you're wanting to make a sound investment decision, like I'm wanting to add either my first property or I'm adding another property to my real estate portfolio, I want the higher interest rate, because numbers don't lie. I want the house on better terms because I can always refinance later. And we've seen so many people wait through the election, and they're going to get excited. Oh, I'm going to wait for 2025 because I want 5.9%, 5.75%. That's great, but that $450,000 house that you could get right now is not, in my opinion, it's not going to be $450,000, and there's not going to be a lot of seller concessions on the table.
Well, history has proven that. I mean, and it's not just proportional. It's not like, oh, okay, it's going to cost $100 more to own it, so it's going to cost $10,000 more or whatever proportionally. No, it's going to go up significantly more than that because people are playing on the futures. And when FOMO sits in, I mean, there was no better example of FOMO being such a big actor in this industry than during COVID,
Yeah.
because it was obscene how many people were doing things just because their neighbors did.
Right.
And it happens every single time that we start seeing any type of significant uptick in the market, because people get excited, they get scared if they're not in the game, they get excited if they are, and then they start making emotional decisions, and then that's how we end up with those types of crazy sellers markets. So I mean, this whole thing is extremely exciting for me, because I know that there's going to be a lot more opportunities and a lot more short-term shifts that we get to have fun with. Because let's be honest, like those flips, or those short-term deals, those are fun. The long-term ones are more for the folks that are long in the tooth.
Let me ask you a question, Ryan. Sorry, I'm going to cut you off.
You're fine.
Because we talk about it a lot, about removing emotion from the decision-making process, and you just mentioned, people who are allowing emotions getting in the way, and I agree with you. Emotions, when you're an emotional, whether buyer or seller, and your decision-making process is based on emotions, you're immediately leaving money on the table. But break that down for us, as far as what an emotional buyer or seller is compared to, well, I guess someone who's less emotional.
Well, we're always going to be dealing with emotional buyers and sellers in any market. Like you heard me throw that spoof around, or not spoof, that kind of little dig on the people that are waiting for the elections to be over, right? That is an emotional comment, right? They're thinking that because they're sitting on one side of the aisle, that if the other side of the aisle wins, then all of a sudden they're going to create an economic, just meltdown of the market. And the other side is thinking the same exact thing if they're using that same type of excuse. When in reality is, whenever it comes to something like this, there's always a winner and a loser. So going back, and you can use this for any example out there. And what's going to happen is whoever the winner is, they're going to be happy about the outcome. And then they're going to say, phew, we won, let's go spend some money, okay? And the losers are going to be like, they're crazy. That's the whole reason why we're in this situation, so on and so forth. And then they're going to start realizing that they're not going to move to Canada, that there isn't an economical meltdown, that we, the people with money and who are actually investing into either mortgage-backed securities, stocks, we're small players, but there's obviously huge players and big companies out there that aren't going to let something like an election get in the way of their business, right? And so after one side, the side that won decides that they're going to jump headfirst into the market because they're so happy, and the losers are unhappy. The losers are finally going to start saying, you know what? It might be 6 months, it might be a year after. I might say, you know what? It's not as bad as we thought. And matter of fact, we like money too. So maybe we ought to, just take our pill, swallow our pride, and jump back into business, jump back into investing, jump back into whatever it is that's running the show for them. So, and then all of a sudden, about a year or two after the elections, things start to slow down, and everything kind of comes back to an equilibrium. And then they get ready for the next, next election that comes along, and then they go through the same exact cycle. Oh, but this year it's different. You know how many times I've heard that?
Every time.
Every single term.
But it's different, though.
But no, this time it's
this time
it's
really
real.
different.
Just like I told my parents when they were trying to give me good advice, but I'm different.
Yeah.
It's different for me, Dad. It's different for me. I like to go back to what you said.
That's emotional.
100%. And I like to go back to what you said on the last show. Look at the value and everything. The glass is half full rather than half empty. Meanwhile, right now on the market, what we're seeing on our side is, appraisals coming in 10 to 15% higher. Percent, not 15K or 10K higher. Percent. And we're seeing this, I would say, on half the deals or more. And the amount of concessions, the help from the sellers purchasing homes. It's mind blowing. This is such a buyer's market right now. That makes sense. It makes so much sense. And just because the standard rate says on Google that it's 6.625 doesn't mean that you'll end up with that rate if you have the right people negotiating for you. There's chances. I mean, I've been in part of transactions with you guys where standard rates are 7%, and we're walking out with a 4.5% on a mortgage rate because you've had the sellers buy these rates down. Now, is that rate not doable? No, it's absolutely doable for an individual. And I don't think we'll ever see a 4.5% as a standard rate ever again. But you guys are making these things work, and the market's making these things work because sellers are getting sick of having their homes sit on the market. So this makes sense to buy right now. And I love what you were saying about this is emotional, because it is. You're not even exploring the option of what can I do out there. All you're doing is educating yourself if you take the chance, and then you might come out with an incredible deal, especially if you stay non-emotional about the homes that you're looking at. Go on to the next one if that seller's not giving you
Oh, they don't like our price? Bye.
Right. See ya.
Bye-bye.
We'll move on. We got time. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I could. Okay. Yeah, I'll just go into it. Yeah, going back to, emotional people are caught up in the emotions and what's going to happen and the sky is falling and all of this stuff. Non-emotional people and people that are smart with money and smart with investing, understand that regardless of what happens, there's always opportunity. There's opportunity leading up to it. There's going to be opportunity afterwards. If one party gets in, there's going to be opportunity there. If the other party gets in, may not be the same opportunity, but could be, there's going to be a different opportunity. And when you're on this quest and you're on this mission to build a legacy of personal wealth through real estate, that is what's important. That is figuring out where and following the opportunities and understanding where the opportunities are. And that's for those of you that are loyal listeners of the show, you know what we're talking about, because we're always talking about the opportunities. And it's weird. It's not weird, because this is what we do. 1 month we're talking about, hey, this is where we think things are going, and this is the opportunity, and here's how you take advantage of it. But then all of a sudden, something happens in the market. And now we're moving on. Okay, now we're looking at this opportunity, and this is maybe the path and what we should explore and so forth, rather than just putting your fingers in your ears and going, la, 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 I can't hear you, and I'm ignoring everything. I'm not gonna look for opportunities. I'm not gonna invest. I'm not gonna buy. I'm not gonna sell. I'm not gonna do anything because I want to wait to see what happens.
You know what the biggest difference maker whenever it comes to investing in real estate in markets like this versus markets like in 2021 is you just need to have financial programming that helps you pivot in this type of market, okay? If you are using hard money, you better know what the hell you're doing, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas if you're using hard money in a market in 2021 where, you're making 2-3 points a month just by sitting on it, then okay, but that's not the rule, that's the exception, okay? So the investors that I'm seeing right now that are having a hard time making sense of these things are the ones that are over there stuck in that single vision of, okay, if I'm a flipper, then I need to go get hard money, and then they're going to finance the renovation on it, and then hopefully I can get it sold in 60 days before that hard money matures. Those are the people that are getting hurt right now. The people that aren't getting hurt are the ones that are saying, okay, look, we aren't seeing appreciation the same way that we were back in 2021. Let's do something that's a more permanent program and get it renovated pretty quick, but then doing like a hybrid and renting it out on whether it be a furnished rental or unfurnished rental for 6 months to a year, then saying, okay, all right, sorry, we're going to let these tenants go because we feel like we're in a better spot in the marketplace, and then selling it then. So I can go on and on about the tax advantages, et cetera, but I think going back to the emotional element of things is that so many investors think, well, no, I'm a flipper. That's what I do, is I flip homes. And then they can't reinvent themselves because of pride. They've already told all their friends and family, no, I'm a flipper. So then, the moment that they say, well, I had to hold on to this one, I was like, oh, so you must have failed. It's like, no, idiot. Like, this is how
markets change.
This is how
You have to shift on a dime
Yeah,
in this business.
You're not a flipper. You're a real estate entrepreneur. Own it. And if you have to do something different, do something different.
Yeah, and yeah, you do have to be able to shift, and you have to be able to adjust. You have to be able to pivot, Justin. But you also, for a lot of people, they don't necessarily have the people in their circle where they can understand how to pivot. Like, okay, yeah, Mike, I need to pivot. Where do I pivot to? Where's the opportunities? And that is what we truly offer our clients and our listeners, is just that understanding of the market and looking for those opportunities and helping you, be very, very creative in making money in real estate. And it starts by having a conversation with us. All you got to do is text the letters MBA to 623-AZ-RECON. That's MBA to 623-AZ-RECON. Justin, was there anything else before we shut down that you wanted to add about this particular article?
I do.
And the projections that we're gonna see a 28.5% increase in 2025 when it comes down to
I think the
mortgages.
biggest piece of this article that I love is the purchase originations are forecasted to increase 1.45 trillion out of that 2.3 trillion. So you're looking at purchases being up 13% next year. And I know that number seems small, but that's a huge number. It's a huge number. And it's going to make us very busy. But it's also,
What did you say? Was it a big number, or what kind of number was
it's
that?
a huge number.
Okay.
Huge.
And there's a good chance
Tremendous.
that this could shift the entire market, So just saying, that's a huge deal,
This is a huge show. Text the word "huge" to 623-AZ-RECON. Well, it is. It's all about understanding the opportunities and especially getting prepared. If you've been waiting, getting prepared for 2025. A lot of you have not waited and have taken the opportunity to take advantage of the opportunities that presented themselves this year and are looking to maybe make another move next year. We'd love to have that conversation with you. All you got to do is text the word "huge" to 623-AZ-RECON. That's huge to 623-AZ-RECON.